Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
I see a puddle of blood on the kitchen floor, right by my left foot. I freeze. My mind stutters. Is it real? Did I hurt someone? Did someone hurt me? There's no pain, no wound throbbing. I hold my breath and stare. The reflection of the overhead light makes the puddle gleam a sickly red, and my heartbeat pounds in my temples. I blink, and the blood is gone. The floor is just scuffed linoleum again. But the feeling remains, that wave of dread crawling under my skin. I don't have time to question whether it was a hallucination or a flash of memory. My hands are trembling. In my right palm, I'm clutching Sarah's bracelet. The clasp is snapped. My own fault. She tried to grab it back from me, and I yanked her arm too hard. That cheap chain, probably gold-plated, broke in two with a sharp pop. She screams at me, words so venomous I can't even register them. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again, like a fish gasping for air on a cold metal pier. I glimpse the anger in her eyes, the fury that once was love, or at least affection. My wife, the mother of my child, now a stranger shouting that I'm worthless, a leech, a bag of potatoes. That's her latest favorite name for me, sack of potatoes. Yesterday, she found something nastier, but I can't even recall the phrase. It's just noise in my head. I toss the broken bracelet onto the table. It clangs against a cheap ceramic plate. For some reason, that clang feels louder than her yelling, louder than the world. The next thing I notice is the clock ticking on the wall, each second an accusation. I try to block out her insults, but each tick sounds like her voice repeating, "You are nothing." She's still screaming, and I catch fragments. Money, job, worthless. I want to speak, but all that comes out is a raspy whisper. "Stop," I say. No response. "Stop," I say again. My voice is gone, overshadowed by her barrage of words. I give up and turn away. My knees feel wobbly. The whole confrontation tastes bitter, like hot copper in my mouth. When I pivot on my heel, I realize how quickly my own anger is draining, replaced by humiliation. She sees me as less than a man, something to discard, something that can't even defend itself. I hear the echo of my father's voice in my mind, telling me that a real man stands his ground. But right now, I'm just so damn tired. I push open the kitchen door, letting the squeaky hinges cry for me. I step into the garage. Inside, the stale scent of engine oil and dusty boxes hits me. My workshop's a mess, just like my life. Shadows pool in every corner. I flick the light switch, but the bulb only sputters, never fully bright. The fluorescent tube overhead stammers. I hear her still. In the kitchen, her voice muffled yet raging. I stand there, tears trying to well up. But men don't cry, right? Or if we do, we hide it well. So I swallow hard, my throat raw. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That was yesterday. That moment with the bracelet snapping might as well have been the last breath of my old life. This morning, I got up at dawn, left a note on the table for Sarah. No explanation. Just, I quit my job. Then I went to the office for the final time. I typed up a resignation letter. I didn't wait for HR to ask questions. I walked away from my desk, from the spreadsheets, from the tinted windows that never opened. I gave up everything without telling her. When I got home, she didn't even ask about my day. She said something about dinner. Didn't notice my note or didn't bother reading it. I felt invisible, in some twisted way. That felt like a confirmation. I'm worthless to her. My existence is background noise. But that's not the worst of it. The real hell started at the parent-teacher conference. I almost forgot about it until Sarah reminded me, strangely calm, before leaving the house that morning. "Don't forget Tommy's conference at 5. Don't be late again." She left. That was her entire conversation with me. No mention of my note, no sign she even realized what I'd done. I said nothing. I arrived at the school a few minutes early, Scanning the halls for Sarah. Didn't see her. I took a seat in the corner of the classroom. Everything smelled like chalk dust and disinfectant. On the walls, kids' drawings taped up with bright construction paper. I recognized one with a big tree and a tiny figure that might have been me or a green blob or both. I wasn't sure. My chest tightened at the thought that my own son's artwork felt foreign to me. The teacher, Miss Carter, caught my eye, smiled politely, and said she'd get started soon. A few other parents shuffled in, and then Sarah stepped in, accompanied by someone else. Tall, confident stride, expensive watch glinting under the fluorescent lights. He whispered something to Sarah, and she laughed that laugh I hadn't heard in months. Soft, intimate. She turned to me, froze momentarily, then forced a quick nod of acknowledgement, as though I were just another parent, not her husband. He didn't even look my way. Something inside me snapped, a hot wave of realization. That man must be Anthony Brown. I'd heard the name once. Some offhand comment about a marketing consultant who'd moved to town, an old friend from her volunteer circle, or so she claimed. I never suspected anything. Not consciously, but as soon as I saw him, everything inside me went cold. The way she stood near him, the way her shoulder almost brushed his chest, the slight tilt of her head, as if welcoming his every word. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Miss Carter cleared her voice. If everyone could take a seat, we'll discuss the upcoming school events. She talked about a field trip to the museum, a fundraiser for new sports equipment, typical announcements. My eyes flicked from Miss Carter to Sarah, from Sarah to Anthony, back and forth. I saw the subtle glance they exchanged, the kind of glance that said everything. Desire, familiarity. When Miss Carter wrapped up, she called me aside. "Michael, can I have a quick word?" Sarah stayed with Anthony, engaged in quiet conversation. My gut churned. I followed Miss Carter to her desk. She hesitated. "I'm sorry if this is none of my business, but I thought you knew. About Sarah and, well, Mr. Brown." Her voice wobbled. I shouldn't. My mind went blank. Then I whispered, "I didn't know. But I see it now." She nodded, regret in her eyes. "I'm truly sorry. I only realized it myself because, well, they've been very obvious lately." A wave of shame washed over me. Everyone must see it. Everyone except me. The fool. I left the classroom with a knot in my chest. The hallway was empty. Sarah and Anthony were gone. She hadn't waited for me. I stood there, feeling nauseous. The overhead lights buzzed. The clock on the wall seemed to tick louder by the second. I wanted to tear something apart. Maybe that clock. Instead, I walked outside into the crisp evening air. My head spun with the realization. She'd been seeing him, maybe for months. The insults, the belittling remarks, her distance, all connected to this betrayal. By the time I drove home, rage had hardened into a stony weight in my chest. I went straight to the studio in our basement, the small room I'd once planned to convert into a workshop for building custom furniture. It had old cameras, a decent editing setup, left over from my half-baked dream of producing something meaningful one day. I locked myself in there, trembling. My teeth hurt from clenching my jaw. My hands itched to do something. That was when the idea came to me. If she wants to see me as worthless, I'll become someone else entirely. I'll do the one thing I know how to do best. Analyze, produce, put the pieces together. Only this time, the product wouldn't be spreadsheets or insurance data. It would be her. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The next few days blurred into a single stretch of frantic work. I scored through old footage on my hard drives, family videos, random recordings with my phone. Times I filmed her with Tommy at the park, at home, cooking dinner. So many glimpses of her life, her expressions, caught on camera when she wasn't even aware. And in every snippet, I saw that face I'd loved. That face that looked at me with something akin to warmth, so long ago. But now it felt like I was studying a stranger. Freeze frame, her lips parted in a smile, eyes shining. Frame by frame, I zoomed in, searching for hidden truths. I found a shot from a neighborhood barbecue a few months back. She was laughing with a group of acquaintances. My camera panned across the yard, and there he was, Anthony Brown, off to the side, checking his phone. I hadn't noticed him before. Another snippet from a holiday party. I filmed the table spread, turned the phone towards Sarah, who blew me a playful kiss. In the corner of the screen, Anthony again, smiling in her direction. I felt sick to my stomach. The signs were there, subtle but visible. The way she'd glance at him, the way he'd position himself near her. They must have started their affair even before the insults truly ramped up. My marriage was eroding, and I was the last to know. That bitterness lodged itself deeper in my throat. My anger flared hot, then cooled into a savage determination. I decided I would create something out of all these pieces, a series, an ugly, raw portrait of who she is, who we are, what she's done. No polished illusions, no editing to make her look good. Just reality, spliced together with the bluntness of truth. On the first day of editing, I barely left the basement. The overhead lamp buzzed, the old computer whirred. I sipped stale coffee. Outside, I heard Sarah's footsteps in the hallway. Sometimes she'd knock on the locked door. "Michael?" she'd say, voice uncertain. She hated not knowing what I was up to. My chest burned with the urge to confront her. But I kept my mouth shut. I heard her phone ring, heard her speak in hushed tones. I knew who was on the other end. That night, I confronted her for the first time since the teacher's words. It wasn't the grand confrontation I'd imagined. It happened in the kitchen, ironically, just as I had come full circle from the day I broke her bracelet. I found her sitting at the table, staring at the broken chain still lying there. Maybe she'd meant to fix it at some point. She looked up. "Michael, where have you been? What are you doing all day in there? Have you lost your mind?" I stood across from her, placed my hands flat on the table, leaning forward. "No," I said. "I found it." Finally, her gaze flickered with uncertainty, then annoyance. "What does that even mean?" I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. Memories of that parent-teacher conference rushed me. Miss Carter's pitying eyes, the mocking glances Sarah and Anthony exchanged. "You know exactly what it means," I hissed. Her cheeks colored. She looked away, but not before I caught a flash of guilt. Or was it just anger at being confronted? She pursed her lips, stood up. "I don't have time for your riddles." She brushed past me, heading upstairs. I let her go. My chest constricted, but I refused to chase her. Asterisk, 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 I didn't sleep much after that. In the darkness, my mind spun with images of her betrayal, replaying over and over. Something in me threatened to snap. Another wave of that humiliating sense of being less than a man, overshadowed by someone more successful, more charming, more everything. I stared at the ceiling for hours, drowning in bitterness. Come morning, I grabbed my camera. I set it on the living room table as Sarah prepared breakfast. Tommy was upstairs, likely getting ready for school. She caught me aiming the lens at her. "Michael, what are you doing?" she asked warily. I hit record. "Making a documentary." She glared. "You better stop that." I didn't. I let the camera roll, capturing the stiff tension in her posture, the way she slammed the fridge door. She said nothing more, just marched out of the room. I kept the camera on. I wanted a new layer of footage, her in her rawest forms, day after day. I planned to stitch everything together in a horrifying tapestry of who she'd become, or maybe who she'd always been. Hours turned into days. I filmed her in unflattering angles, in half-light, with disheveled hair in the morning or with a scowl at night. Sometimes she'd hiss at me to stop, but I rarely did. She might snatch a hand towel to hide her face or slam a door, cursing under her breath. But it was already recorded, her every dismissive gesture, every tired sigh. I pretended this was for me alone. but deep down, I knew I wanted the world to see. I wanted someone to witness my humiliation, to understand my rage. Every second of footage was a small act of revenge, each clip a piece of evidence that might one day speak for me, the silent man. The fool. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. But the discovery of her affair wasn't enough for me to quit. I needed to see it. I needed proof so undeniable that even she couldn't lie about it. That craving for proof ate at me. So one night, I followed her. She left the house in her car, told me she was going to the store. She looked me in the eye and said she'd be back soon. I nodded, said nothing. I watched from the window as she drove off. Then I took my own car, keeping a safe distance, headlights off when possible, heart hammering in my chest. She didn't go to the store. I saw her pull into a quiet suburban street and park. Another car was already waiting. His. Anthony Brown. She got in the passenger side, and they drove off together. I followed. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. My pulse roared. I wanted to confront them right then and there, but fear held me back. The humiliating fear that I might lose what little dignity I had left. Or maybe I was just a coward who needed a more definitive blow. They ended up at some small hotel off the highway, tucked behind a row of trees. The neon sign blinked VACANCY in faint red. I parked at a distance. I could see their silhouettes in the car, the way he leaned over her, how her hand found his shoulder. My stomach knotted. I hated myself for staying in my seat, for not storming up to the driver's window. Instead, I waited until they walked inside. I waited for the lights in one of the second-floor windows to switch on. My heart hammered so loudly, it felt like my eardrums might burst. I got out of my car, walked softly across the dark parking lot. I could see the neon reflection in a greasy puddle near the motel entrance, a faint smell of cigarettes. I checked the front desk. Empty. The clerk must have been in the back. My entire body felt like it was vibrating with a toxic mix of anger and adrenaline. I took out my phone, set it to silent video record. I crept up the outdoor staircase, hoping it wouldn't squeak. The corridor had cheap carpeting. The walls were paper thin. I could hear muffled voices, a laugh. Hers. Room 212. I pressed my ear against the door. Another laugh, then a low murmur. My breath caught. I tried the handle, locked, of course. For a moment, I just stood there, phone recording the lifeless door. I heard a soft moan. My vision blurred with rage. My shoulders tensed. I clenched my teeth so hard I felt something crack. My mind flooded with images. Sarah's hair splayed on a pillow, his hands on her skin, her eyes lit with the kind of passion she never shows me anymore. I wanted to break the door down, to throw fists, to ruin them. But an odd numbness set in. I actually turned away and walked back to my car, phone still recording the emptiness of the hallway. I had all the proof I needed, more than I could stomach. My face was burning with shame, tears prickling the corners of my eyes. In my mind, I replayed the word coward. But I knew that if I burst in there, I might do something I'd regret forever. Maybe I'd end up with real blood on the floor, and I wasn't ready for a jail cell. So I left. I drove home, parked in the driveway, and sat there, engine idling. The house was dark. Tommy was sleeping at a friend's place. Thank God. The only light was the faint glow from the street lamp. My hands shook on the wheel. I pounded it once, then again, tears finally forcing their way out. I sat there crying in the driver's seat, fighting wave after wave of humiliation. A man is supposed to be strong, defend his home, protect what's his, and I was letting my wife and her lover walk all over me, defile my marriage. In that moment, I hated myself as much as I hated them. Eventually, my tears dried. I turned off the ignition, wiped my face on my sleeve. I found some hollow calmness. A plan formed in my head, crystallizing with each breath. I would do something different. Not a violent revenge, not a confrontation that could land me in trouble. No, I'd finish my series. I would turn their twisted affair into episodes, each capturing the reality of her cruelty, her deceit. Then I'd release it, show the world what she really was. Let them see the woman who'd spat on my pride. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. In the days that followed, she acted strangely, half suspicious, half apathetic. Maybe Anthony had told her about seeing a car behind them, or maybe she just sensed my rising tension. But she said nothing. She carried on with her daily routine, ignoring me most of the time. Meanwhile, I devoted every ounce of my energy to assembling the footage. Day after day, locked in the basement studio, piecing together a mosaic of heartbreak and betrayal. I formed episodes. The first one, Before. I used old clips from happier times, our wedding day, her birthday party, a random picnic. I let the images play out, but I edited them so that each transition cut to glimpses of the present, her scowling face at breakfast, her rolling her eyes at me that forced grin. No commentary, just a slow fade between illusions of love and the stark reality of her contempt. The music I chose was something subtle, dark piano notes. Watching it, even I shivered. It felt wrong, like dissecting the corpse of our marriage. But I couldn't stop. The second episode. Distance. Scenes of her ignoring me, of her hush-hush phone calls, her late returns home. A shot of her reflection in the mirror as she dressed for an evening out, applying lipstick with a bored expression, not even glancing at me. I captured the moment she hung up the phone the second I walked into the room. I layered the audio from my confrontation in the kitchen over these images, her screaming, "You're a worthless bag of potatoes," while the video silently showed her turning away, again and again. The third episode, The Affair. This one was the hardest. I had the phone recording from the motel corridor, the audio muffled but distinguishable. I spliced in earlier clips of Anthony at that holiday party, him subtly placing a hand on her back while she poured a drink. Shots of them in the distance, eyes locking across a crowd. Interspersed with that was footage of me alone, in the dark studio, my face lit by the computer screen. I recorded that bit intentionally, letting the camera show my raw expression as I listened to the sounds of her betrayal. Each episode ended with a black screen, no credits, just silence. I saved the files. My entire body felt drained, my soul battered, but there was a grim satisfaction in seeing the truth laid bare. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. One night, she tried to approach me again. I was in the garage, half looking at my old tools, half lost in thought. She opened the door, stepped in, arms folded over her chest. "Michael," she said quietly, "we need to talk." I set down a wrench, turned to face her. She looked vulnerable, but I couldn't trust anything she showed me anymore. "Go ahead," I said. She stood there, biting her lip. "I don't know what's happening with you, but I'm worried. You quit your job without telling me. You're always locked in the basement or hiding out here. Are you okay?" I let out a dry laugh. "You're asking if I'm okay?" My voice came out harsher than I intended. "Really, Sarah?" She tried to keep her composure. "Yes, I'm still your wife." I locked eyes with her. Funny. That's not what it looked like the other night at the motel. The moment the words left my mouth, I saw her face twist. The color drained from her cheeks. She didn't deny it. Her lips trembled. "So you followed me." "I needed the truth," I said, my chest tight. "And now I have it." She seemed at a loss for words. Her eyes darted across my face, searching for something. Remorse, softness. But I was a wall. She exhaled shakily. "It's not what you think." "Don't," I barked. "Don't insult me with that line." She flinched, then her voice turned sharper. "Fine. So you know. But that doesn't make you a saint. You've been cold, distant for months, like you're barely in this marriage." I felt alone, like I was living with a ghost. My fists clenched. Her justification stung more than I expected. Maybe part of me recognized she wasn't entirely wrong, but the rage overshadowed everything else. You could have said something, Sarah. You could have tried. Instead, you dragged me through the mud, spat on my pride, and found comfort in another man's bed. She opened her mouth as if to retort, but no words came. Finally, she just shook her head, tears forming. She left the garage, slamming the door. I was left alone, my anger boiling, my heart pounding in my ears. There was no sweet resolution, no tearful apology. Just the raw, bitter truth between us. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The next day, I decided I'd had enough. Enough of this waiting, enough of this slow poison. I loaded the episodes onto my computer and prepared them for a private upload. I didn't intend to broadcast them to the entire internet. At least not yet. I wanted a small audience first, a test run. Maybe some close acquaintances who'd understand the context. But I also fantasized about going public, about forcing Sarah to see herself the way I saw her. My finger hovered over the click button, adrenaline searing my veins. Then something strange happened. Tommy's face flashed in my mind. Our son. What if he saw it someday? What if it damaged him forever? The thought paralyzed me. I shut the laptop, pressing my palms to my eyes. My plan for revenge was about to cross a line that could hurt someone innocent. And I didn't want that on my conscience. I paced the basement, racked with indecision. But my anger demanded an outlet, demanded Sarah face consequences, the humiliation she inflicted on me. I needed some kind of retribution. That was when a new plan formed. Less explosive, more targeted. I'd show the episodes to Anthony Brown directly. He was as much at fault as she was. Let him see the real side of the woman he was so eager to bed. Let him realize I was not the powerless stooge they both presumed me to be. So I found his professional website. It had a contact form, but that was too impersonal. I did some digging, discovered he had a small office in town. Late that evening, I drove there, stuck a flash drive with the episodes into an envelope, scrawled his name on it, attached a note. Asterisk, asterisk, watch carefully before you decide to keep her. Asterisk, asterisk, I slipped it under his office door and left. My hands trembled the entire time. There. That was my step toward freedom, my step toward unleashing the truth. Let him watch it all. Let him see every wretched moment of her scorn for me, every ounce of bitterness she poured into our home. Would he still want her after that? I went home, crawled into bed without a word to Sarah. She was awake, lying stiff on her side, face turned away. We lay there like two strangers in the night, breathing the same air but living in different worlds. My heart hammered in my chest, a mix of fear and anticipation. Tomorrow, the fuse might blow. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The morning dawned gray, an overcast sky pressing down. Sarah left the house in a hurry, no explanation. I assumed she was meeting him. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to stay calm. Let them watch my masterpiece. Let them feel cornered, exposed. A few hours later, my phone vibrated. An unknown number. I picked up. A shaky male voice whispered, "You think this will scare me, you son of a..." Then the line clicked off. My stomach twisted. It was Anthony. He must have watched at least part of it. I stared at the phone, heart pounding. So he was rattled. Moments later, the phone rang again. This time, the voice was quieter, more controlled. "Michael Harris," he said. "We need to meet." I felt a savage thrill. "Where?" He named a coffee shop downtown. "An hour from now." I hung up. Adrenaline surged through me. This was it, the confrontation. The moment I'd prove I wasn't the spineless loser they both thought. My hand shook. A voice inside me whispered, "You're not a fighter. You hate conflict." But I steeled myself. If I wanted to reclaim my pride, I had to face him. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Walking into the coffee shop felt surreal. It was a cozy place, soft jazz playing, the aroma of fresh beans permeating the air. Elderly couples chatted over pastries. No one looked like the bringer of heartbreak or the cuckold husband. Then I spotted him in a corner booth, Anthony Brown. Dressed in a pressed shirt, hair combed impeccably, sipping black coffee. He looked up, locked eyes with me. I approached, sat down across from him. My stomach knotted. He regarded me with a tight-lipped stare. The tension was palpable, like two chess masters studying the board for weaknesses. Except I felt like a novice. I forced myself to hold his gaze. He spoke first, voice clipped. "What do you want from this stunt? Are you threatening to release that footage publicly?" I inhaled, trying to keep my voice steady. "I wanted you to see the damage you two have done. And maybe think twice before you go any further." He set his coffee down, leaned in. "Let me be very clear. I care about Sarah. What you've done is—" I cut him off, surprising myself with the venom in my tone. "You care about her, do you?" I scoffed. "She's married. She has a family. A son. And you've been sneaking around like some cheap soap opera villain." His eyes narrowed. "She's unhappy, Michael. She hasn't been happy for a long time, and you did nothing to fix it. She needed someone who could see her, appreciate her. That's me." My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. "You don't get to blame this on me." He barked a short laugh. "Don't I? Maybe if you tried to be a real husband." I slammed my fist on the table, the coffee cups rattling. Heads turned our way. Heat flushed my face, but I refused to back down. "Shut up," I said in a low voice. "You think you're the hero here. Seducing another man's wife isn't heroism." He glared. "You think I'm proud of this? We got close because she needed someone to talk to. You were never there. She told me how distant you became, how you let everything else, work, your own frustrations, drive a wedge between you." I stepped into the void. But it's not some petty fling. A wave of bitterness rose in my throat. "She's to blame. You're to blame. None of that matters anymore. I'm done being the silent victim. You should know I can release that footage any time I want." His knuckles whitened around the coffee cup. "Sarah's not the monster you're painting her to be," he hissed. "Yes, she messed up. We both did. But you're going too far. Dragging personal matters into the public eye is cruel, and it'll hurt your son most of all." "Then stop," I fired back. "End it. Let me keep what's left of my family. Or are you so sure you can handle all of her baggage? Because I guarantee it's heavier than you realize." He let out a slow breath. For a moment, his expression flickered with doubt. Then he pressed his lips together. "I won't walk away from her. But I also won't let you destroy her reputation with your twisted docuseries. Believe me, I have the resources to fight back if you try." My jaw tensed. So it was a stalemate. We stared at each other, the weight of unspoken threats thick between us. Finally, I stood, ignoring the curious stares from other patrons. "You've seen what I can do. I won't hesitate." With that, I turned and walked out, my heart hammering so violently it felt like it might burst. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk outside. The gray sky seemed heavier. My legs wobbled. I reached my car, sat inside, hands shaking on the wheel. Instead of feeling victorious, I felt emptier than before. The confrontation ended with no resolution, no sense of closure. I was still stuck in the same humiliating loop, overshadowed by a man who was calm, confident, more in control than I'd ever be. A numbness settled in me. My mind repeated, asterisk, asterisk, this is war, and I'm not sure I can win. Asterisk, asterisk, yet the part of me that was done being a victim roared to life. Asterisk, asterisk, I'll show them. I'll show both of them. Asterisk, asterisk, merging the episodes into one final cut. That was my next plan. A single piece of footage that captured everything from start to finish. I'd have to push aside my concern for Tommy, because sometimes revenge demands sacrifice. That evening, I holed up in the basement once again. The overhead light flickered. My eyes burned from lack of sleep. The editing software glowed on the screen. My phone buzzed sporadically with calls from Sarah. I ignored them, focusing on my hateful college of images and sounds. Time lost meaning. The basement's gloom felt suffocating, but I couldn't stop. Not until I had my final masterpiece. I spliced new angles, added some text overlays indicating dates, letting anyone who watched know exactly when each betrayal occurred. I overlaid audio from the parent-teacher conference, Ms. Carter's hesitant apology, Sarah's laughter in the background with Anthony. The result was devastating even to me. An emotional sledgehammer. By the time I was done, my face felt numb from scowling at the screen. I saved the final version. 50 minutes of heartbreak, rising from sweet memories to a crescendo of deception. I closed the laptop, stared at the black screen. In the silence, I heard my own heart pounding. A single tear traced down my cheek, and I let it. I rubbed my eyes with the heel of my hand, grit in my throat. **** murdering our marriage on camera. This is what it's come to. *********. 2 days passed. Sarah tried to speak to me multiple times, but I avoided her. I felt the tension coil tighter, both of us waiting for something to snap. She didn't mention Anthony, and I didn't ask. Then came the phone call from Tommy's school. The vice principal needed to see both of us. Something about Tommy getting into a fight. I felt a stab of guilt. He must have sensed the tension at home and acted out. We both arrived at the school, awkwardly standing side by side outside the office. She looked at me with damp eyes. I kept my gaze forward, jaw clenched. The vice principal explained that Tommy had punched another kid who called him names. The kid teased him about his mother. My heart sank. News travels fast in small communities. Maybe some rumor or half-truth had reached this child's ears about Sarah's affair. The humiliation doubled back, now stinging my son. After we left the office, Sarah grabbed my arm. "Michael, we have to talk about this. Tommy's suffering because of us. Because of you," I spat. Then I regretted it, seeing the pain flicker across her face. But I couldn't apologize. We parted ways. She walked away, tears shimmering. I wanted to chase after her, hold her, but the bitterness was too strong. I turned in the opposite direction. *****. That night, I finally told her about quitting my job. I think she suspected, but hadn't wanted to face the reality. She said nothing, just stared at me with wide, stunned eyes. Then, as if she had no words left, she just nodded once and left the room. The rift between us was now an unbridgeable chasm. A few hours later, I heard the front door open. Footsteps. Then a knock on the basement door. "Michael?" Her voice, trembling. "Anthony is here. He wants to talk. Says it's urgent." My blood ran cold. I walked upstairs and found him standing in my living room, glancing around as though taking inventory. He turned at the sound of my steps. Sarah stood behind him, arms folded, face anxious. He cleared his throat. "I'm not here to fight," he said quietly. I looked from him to Sarah, my heart hammered. "Then why are you here?" He swallowed. "I watched your final version. The entire cut. Everything." Sarah saw it too. And he hesitated, exchanging a look with her. Her cheeks were blotchy, eyes red from crying. "We need to put an end to this," he said, "before it goes any further." I folded my arms, summoning my last reserves of courage. "And how do you propose we do that?" Sarah stepped forward, voice unsteady. "Michael, if you release it, you won't just hurt me, you'll hurt Tommy. He'll be bullied, humiliated. You'll hurt yourself too, because this is our life. Do you really want the world watching us tear each other apart?" I inhaled through my nose, refusing to give an inch. "You should have thought of that before." Anthony ran a hand over his face. "Look, I'm sorry, okay? I never meant to ruin your life. But now we need to find a solution." The three of us stood in a tense triangle, like boxers in the ring. My mind flickered with images. The motel door, the phone call, the broken bracelet. I was so close to unleashing everything. But then I thought of Tommy's fight, The tears in Sarah's eyes, the possibility of destroying even the last shred of normalcy he had. After a long silence, I lowered my gaze. My voice came out hollow. You want me to bury the footage, keep your affair hidden, let you walk away unscathed. Sarah exhaled shakily. No. I want a divorce, Michael, and I'll take whatever blame is mine. But please don't do it this way. Don't turn us into a public spectacle. If there's any small part of you that remembers loving me, that remembers we built a life together, don't do this. My heart twisted. I looked at Anthony, who was watching me warily. The magnitude of it all crushed me. I realized my revenge wouldn't bring me peace, only more destruction. But I couldn't just let go of what I'd done. The shame, the anger, the betrayal, they still pulsed hot in my veins. I let out a ragged breath, shaking my head. Divorce, I repeated. So it's all meaningless, everything we had. She squeezed her eyes shut. We've been broken for a long time. I'm sorry. I laughed bitterly, tears stinging my eyes. I turned to Anthony. You still want her? He didn't meet my gaze directly. We'll figure it out, he said quietly. But that's between Sarah and me. A wave of helplessness crashed over me. My mind raced back to that imaginary bloodstain on the kitchen floor, the broken bracelet, the illusions I had about who we were. Then I thought of the final scene of my video, the one that ended in silence. I realized that was the truth. There's nothing left to say. Slowly, I said, fine. I won't release it publicly. But if you ever come near my son and hurt him, or if you try to twist this story to make me the villain, I swear I'll post every frame of it. Sarah's shoulders slumped, relief mixed with sadness. Anthony nodded, tension thick in his throat. I stood there, feeling a surge of conflicting emotions. Anger, sorrow, a strange sense of freedom. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. They left soon after, stepping out into the cold night. The door clicked shut, and I collapsed onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. I felt like I'd just lost a war. My phone vibrated with a text from Sarah. Asterisk, asterisk, thank you. I'm sorry. Asterisk, asterisk, I hurled the phone across the room, not wanting to read her apology. Hours slipped by in a daze. I found myself in the basement again, the monitor still on. The final cut paused on Sarah's face. Tears stained my cheeks. And then I made a choice. I dragged each file into a secure external hard drive, ejected it. I stared at that hard drive as though it was a loaded gun. Then I shoved it into a locked metal box and tucked it away in a corner. I stood there, chest heaving, feeling as though I'd cut off a limb. The monstrous, humiliating saga might remain hidden forever. But part of me believed it was the only merciful choice, for Tommy's sake, if not for my own. Asterisk, 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 life after that was messy, complicated. We separated. Lawyers came into the picture. Sarah moved in with a friend temporarily. Anthony presumably floating around in the background. I didn't want details. My days became a haze of regret and attempts to salvage what I could. We hashed out custody agreements for Tommy. Some days, I found the strength to get up, find a new job, start rebuilding. Other days, I drowned in self-pity, cursing both her and myself. But there was a strange sense of liberation too, ironically. I wasn't living a lie anymore. My illusions about marriage, about her, were shattered. Even though the heartbreak was excruciating, I felt more honest than I had in years. She no longer held power over me, not the way she did before. I had faced the ugliest parts of my rage and come out on the other side. One afternoon, as I was gathering some boxes to move into a small rented condo, I found the broken bracelet in a drawer. I picked it up, letting the snapped ends dangle from my fingers. For a second, I thought about tossing it in the trash. Instead, I wrapped it in an old rag, placed it in a box with other random keepsakes. Maybe I needed the reminder of that moment, the moment the illusions cracked. That night, I sat alone in my new place, A one-bedroom with barely any furniture. I made some tea in a chipped mug, stared at the wall. I realized that though I hadn't unleashed the final cut, I had still won a sort of battle. My dignity was scared, but I wasn't beholden to them anymore. My revenge, in a twisted sense, was letting them see what I was capable of, and then refusing to go through with it. I took back control of my story, and they'd have to live with the knowledge that I held a loaded gun behind a locked door. It wasn't happiness. Not yet, but it was something closer to freedom. And that, in the end, was the only real victory I needed. So when people ask me now if I regret what I did, quitting my job, filming that series, confronting them, I can't give a simple yes or no. I lost my marriage, but I found a piece of myself that had been dormant for too long. The part of me that wouldn't remain silent, that wouldn't let myself be reduced to nothing. The humiliations, the lies, the illusions, I'm done with them. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I still see that puddle of blood on the floor. Maybe it's my mind's way of reminding me how close I came to a real tragedy. But the difference is, now I can blink, and it's gone. I choose not to let it define me anymore. Tomorrow, I'll wake up. I'll make coffee in this shabby little kitchen. I'll take my son to the park, watch him run around. I'll try to be the father he needs, and when the old bitterness wells up, I'll remember that revenge isn't about repayment. It's about release. The moment I locked away that footage, I let go of my own chains. That's the only truth that matters.